Hello, and welcome back to Baby Elias's stories. We now return to Jingo by Terry Pratchett, Part 14. Vimes was already lost. Oh, there was the sun, but that was just a direction. He could feel it on the side of his face. And the camel rocked from side to side. There was no real way of judging distance except by hemorrhoids. I'm blindfolded on the back of a camel ridden by a drake, who everyone says are the most untrustworthy people in the world, but I'm almost positive he's not going to kill me. So, he said, as he rocked gently from side to side, you may as well tell me, why 71-hour Ahmed? He killed the man, said Jabbar, and dregs object to a little thing like that. In a man's own tent, when he had been his guest for nearly 3 days. If he had but waited an hour. Oh, I see. Definitely bad manners. Had the man done anything to deserve it? Nothing. Although, yes, the man had killed Elisa. The dreg's tone suggested that this wasn't much of a mitigating circumstance, but that it ought to be mentioned out of completeness. Who was she? Elisa was a village. He poisoned the well. There had been a dispute over religion, he added. One thing led to another. But even so, to break the tradition of hospitality. Yes, I can see that's a terrible thing. Almost impolite. The hour was important. Some things should not be done. You're right there, at least. By mid-afternoon, Jabbar had let him take off the blindfold. Wind-carved heaps of black rock stood out of the sand. Vimes thought it was the most desolate place he'd ever seen. They say once it was green, said Jabbar. A well-watered land. What happened? The wind changed. At sunset they reached a wadi between more wind-scoured rocks, and it was only the length of the shadows, deepening the shallow indentations that began to give them back an ancient shape. Wadi, the bed or valley of a stream in regions of southwestern Asia and northern Africa that is usually dry except during the rainy season, and that often forms an oasis. Wadi, a shallow, usually sharply defined depression in a desert region. At sunset, they reached a wadi between more wind-scoured rocks, and it was only the length of the shadows, deepening the shallow indentations that began to give them back an ancient shape. They're buildings, aren't they? Said Vimes. There was a city here a long time ago. Did you not know? Why should I know? Your people built it. It was called Tacticum, after a warrior of yours. Vimes looked at the crumbled walls and fallen pillars. He had a city named after him, he said to no one in particular. Jabbar nudged him. Ahmed is watching you, he said. I can't see him anywhere. Of course, get down, and I hope we meet again in whatever is your paradise. Right. Jabbar turned the camel round. It left much faster than it had arrived. Vimes sat on a rock for a while. There was no sound but the hissing of the wind in the rocks and the cry of some bird far away. He thought he could hear his own heart beating. Bing-a-lee! Bing-a-lee! Beep! The disorganizer sounded worried and uncertain. Vimes sighed. Yes, appointment with 71-hour Ahmed, eh? No, said the demon. Collection fleet sighted? Ships of the desert, eh? Beep! Error code 746. Divergent temporal instability? Vimes shook the box. Something wrong with you? He demanded. You're still giving me someone else's appointments, you idiot box! The appointments are correct for Commander Samuel Vimes. That's me! Which one of you? Said the demon. What? Beep! It refused to say more. Vimes considered throwing it away, but Sybil would be hurt if she found out. He thrust it back into his pocket and tried to concentrate on the scenery again. His seat might have been part of a pillar once. Vimes saw other pieces some way away and then realized that a heap of apparent rubble was a fallen wall. He followed this, his footsteps echoing off the cliffs, and realized that he was walking between old buildings, or where buildings had been. Here was the wreck of some stairs. There, the stump of a pillar. One was a little higher than the others. He pulled himself up and found on its flat top 2 huge feet. A statue must have stood here. It probably stood, if Vimes knew anything about statues, in some kind of noble attitude. Now it had gone, and there were just feet, broken off at the ankles. They weren't exceptionally noble. As he lowered himself, again he saw, protected because this side was out of the wind, some lettering carved deeply into the plinth. He tried to make it out in the fading light. Ab hoc possum videre domum tuum. Well, domum tuum was your house, wasn't it? And videre was, I see. What? He said aloud. I can see your house from up here? What kind of a noble sentiment is that? I believe it was meant to be a boast and a threat, Sir Samuel, said 71-hour Ahmed. Somewhat typical of Ankh-Morpork, I've always thought. Vimes stood very still. The voice had been right behind him. And it was Ahmed's voice. But it lacked that hint of camel spit and gravel that it had possessed in Ankh-Morpork. Now it was the drawl of a gentleman. It's the echoes here, Ahmed went on. I could be anywhere. I could have a crossbow aimed at you right now. You won't fire it, though. We've both got too much at stake. Oh, there is honor among thieves, is there? I don't know, said Vimes. Oh well, time to see if he was dead right or just dead. Is there honor among policemen? Sergeant Cullen's eyes went big. Swing my weight to one side, he said. That's how magic carpets are steered, said Lord Veterinary calmly. Yes, but supposing I swing myself off. We'll have a lot more room. We'll have a lot more room, said Betty unfeelingly. Come on, Sarge. You know how to throw your weight around. I ain't throwing my weight anywhere, said Colin firmly. He was lying full length on the carpet, both hands gripping it as hard as possible. It's not natural, just a bit of broad loom between you and a certain splash. The patrician looked down. We're not over water, Sergeant. I know what I meant, sir. Can we slow down a bit? Said Betty. The breeze is invading my privacy, if you get my drift. Lord Veterinary sighed. We're not going very fast as it is. I suspect this is a very old carpet. There's a frayed bit here, said Betty. Shut up, said Cullen. Look, I can poke my finger right through. Shut up. Notice how it kind of wobbles when you move. Shut up. Here, look, those palm trees down there look really small. Nobby, you're scared of heights, said Cullen. I know you're scared of heights. That's sexual stereotyping. No, it's not. Yes, it is. You'll be expecting me to break my ankle a lot and scream all the time next. It's my job to prove to you that a woman can be as good as a man. Practically identical in your case, Nobby. You've got too much sun. That's what it is. You're not female, Nobby. Betty sniffed. That's just the sort of sexist remark I'd expect from you. Well, you're not. It's the principle of the thing. Well, at least we now have transport, said Lord Veterinary, his tone suggesting that the show was over. Unfortunately, I had no time to find out where the army is. Ah, I can help you there, sir. Colin tried to salute and then made a grab for the carpet again. I found out by cunning, sir. Really? Yes, sir. It's at a place called, En Al Sams La Laisa, sir. The carpet drifted onwards for a moment in silence. The place where the sun shineth not, said the patrician. There was more silence. Colin was trying not to look at anyone. Is there somewhere called Gebra? Said Nobby sulkily. Yes, bet, Corporal, there is. They've gone there. Of course, you've only got a woman's word for it. Well done, Corporal. We shall head up the coast. Lord Veterinary relaxed. In a busy and complex life, he'd never met people quite like Nobby and Colin. They talked all the time, yet there was something almost restful about them. He watched the dusty horizon carefully as the ancient carpet curved around. Under his arm was the metal cylinder Leonard had made for him. Drastic times required drastic measures. Sir, said Cullen, his voice muffled by the carpet. Yes, Sergeant. I've got to know, how did you get the donkey down? Persuasion, Sergeant. What? Just talking? Yes, Sergeant. Persuasion. And, admittedly, a sharp stick. Ah, I knew. The trick of getting donkeys down from minarets, said the patrician, as the desert unwound below them, is always to find that part of the donkey which seriously wishes to get down. The wind had settled. The bird up on the cliffs had shut down for the night. All Vimes could hear was the sizzle of the little desert creatures. Then Ahmed's voice said, I am genuinely impressed, Sir Samuel. Vimes took a deep breath. You know, you really fooled me, he said. May your loins be full of fruit. That was a good one. I really thought you were just... He stopped, but Ahmed continued. Just another camel driver with a towel on his head? Oh dear, and you had been doing so well up to now, Sir Samuel. The prince was very impressed. Oh, come on. You were all but making suggestive comments about melons. What was I supposed to think? Don't fret, Sir Samuel. I consider it all a compliment. You can turn around. I wouldn't dream of harming you unless you do something foolish. Vimes turned. He could just make out a shape in the afterglow. You were admiring this place, said Ahmed. Tacticus's men had it built when he tried to conquer Klatch. It's not really a city by today's standards, of course. It was really just making a point. Here we are, and here we stay, as it were. And then the wind changed. You murdered Snowy Slopes, didn't you? The term is executed. I can show you the confession he signed beforehand. Of his own free will, more or less. What? Let us say, I pointed out to him the alternatives to signing the confession. I was kind enough to leave you the pad. After all, I wanted to keep your interest. And don't look like that, Sir Samuel. I need you. How can you tell how I look? I can guess. The Assassin's Guild had a contract on him in any case. And by a happy chance, I am a guild member. You? Vimes tried to bite down on the word. And then, why not him? Kids got sent 1,000 miles to be taught in the Assassin's Guild school. Oh yes, the best years of my life, they tell me. I was in Viper House. Up school, right up school. He sighed like a prince and spat like a camel driver. If I shut my eyes, I can still recall the taste of that peculiar custard we used to get on Mondays. Dear me, how it all comes back. I remember every soggy street. Does Mr. Dibbler still sell his horrible sausages in a bun in Treacle Mine Road? Yes, still the same old Dibbler, eh? Still the same sausages. Once tasted, never forgotten. True. No, don't move too quickly, Sir Samuel. Otherwise, I'm afraid I shall be cutting your own throat. You don't trust me, and I don't trust you. Why did you drag me here? Drag you? I had to sabotage my own ship so you wouldn't lose me. Yes, but you knew how I'd react. Vimes's heart began to sink. Everyone knew how Sam Vimes would react. Yes. Would you like a cigarette, Sir Samuel? I thought you sucked those damn clothes. And Ankh-Morpork, yes. Always be a little bit foreign wherever you are, because everyone knows foreigners are a little bit stupid. Besides, these are rather good. Fresh from the desert? Ha! Yes, everyone knows Klatchian cigarettes are made from camel dung. A match flared, and for a moment Vimes caught a glimpse of the hooded nose as Ahmed lit the cigarette for him. This is one area where, I regret to say, prejudice has some evidence on its side. No, these are all the way from Sumtri, an island where it is said the women have no souls. Personally, I doubt it. Vimes could make out a hand holding the packet. Just for a moment he wondered if he could grab and... "How is your luck?" said Ahmed. "Running out, I suspect. Yes, a man should know the length of his luck. Shall I tell you how I know you are a good man, Sir Samuel?" In the light of the rising moon, Vimes saw Ahmed produce a cigarette holder, insert one, and light up almost fastidiously. Fastidious, of a person's work, approach, etc., extremely or excessively careful or detailed. Fastidious. In the light of the rising moon, Vimes saw Ahmed produce a cigarette holder, insert one, and light up almost fastidiously. "Do tell. After the attempt on the prince's life, I suspected everyone. But you suspected only your own people. You couldn't bring yourself to think the Klatchians might have done it, because that'd line you up with the likes of Sergeant Cullen and all the rest of the Klatchian fags are made of camel dung brigade. Whose policeman are you? I draw my pay. Let us say, as the Wali of Prince Kadram. I shouldn't think he's very happy with you right now then. You were supposed to be guarding his brother, weren't you?" So was I, Vimes thought. But what the hell? "Yes, and we thought the same way, Sir Samuel. You thought it was your people. I thought it was mine. The difference is, I was right. Kufura's death was plotted in Klatch." "Oh, really? That's what they wanted the watch to think." "No, Sir Samuel. The important thing is what someone wanted you to think." "Really? Well, you've got that wrong. All the stuff with the glass and the sand on the floor. I saw through that straight away." His voice faded into silence. After a while, Ahmed said, almost sympathetically, "Yes, you did. Damn." "Oh, in some ways you were right. Ozzy was paid in dollars originally, and then later on someone broke in, making sure they dumped most of the glass outside and swapped their money, and distributed the sand. I must say that I thought the sand was going a bit too far too. No one would be that stupid. But they wanted to make sure it looked like a bungled attempt." "Who was it?" said Vimes. "Oh, a small-time thief. Bob, hard yo-yo. He didn't even know why he was doing it, except that someone was willing to pay him. I commend your city, Commander. For enough money, you can find someone to do anything. Someone must have paid him. A man he met in a pub." Vimes nodded gloomily. It was amazing how many people were prepared to do business with a man they'd met in a pub. "I can believe that," he said. "You see, if even the redoubtable Commander Vimes, who is known even to some senior Klatchian politicians as an unbendingly honest and thorough man, if somewhat lacking in intelligence, if even he protested that it was done by his own people, well, the world is watching. The world would soon find out. Starting a war over a rock, well, that sort of thing makes countries uneasy. They've all got rocks off their coast. But starting a war because some foreign dog had killed a man on a mission of peace, that, I think, the world would understand." "Lacking in intelligence," said Vimes. "Oh, don't be too depressed, Commander. That business with the fire at the embassy, that was sheer bravery. It was bloody terror. Well, the dividing line is narrow. That was one thing I hadn't expected. In the rolling, clicking snooker table of Vimes's mind, the black ball hit a pocket. You had expected the fire then. The building should have been almost empty. Vimes moved. Ahmed was lifted off his feet and slammed against a pillar with both of Vimes's hands around his neck. That woman was trapped in there. It was necessary, said Ahmed hoarsely. There had to be a diversion. His life was in danger. I had to get him out. I did not know about the woman until too late. I give you my word. Through the red veil of anger, Vimes became aware of a prickle in the region of his stomach. He glanced down at the knife that had appeared magically in the other man's hand. Listen to me, hissed Ahmed. Prince Kadram ordered his brother's death. What better way to demonstrate the perfidy of the sausage eaters? Killing a peacemaker. Perfidy, the quality or state of being. Faithless or disloyal, treachery. Perfidy, an act or an instance of disloyalty. What better way to demonstrate the perfidy of the sausage eaters? Killing a peacemaker. His own brother. You expect me to believe that? Messages were sent to the embassy in code. To the old ambassador. I don't believe that. Ahmed stood quite still for a moment. No, you really don't, do you? He said. Be generous, Sir Samuel. Truly treat all men equally. Allow Klatchians the right to be scheming bastards. In fact, the ambassador is just a pompous idiot. Ankh-Morpork has no monopoly on them, but his deputy sees the messages first. He is a young man of ambition. Vimes relaxed his grip. Him? I thought he was shifty as soon as I saw him. I suspect that you thought he was Klatchian as soon as you saw him. But I take your point. And you could read this code, could you? Oh, come now. Don't you read veterinary's paperwork upside down when you're standing in front of his desk? Besides, I am Prince Kadram's policeman, so he's your boss, right? Who is your boss, Sir Samuel, when push comes to shove? The two men stood locked together. Ahmed's breath wheezed. Vimes stood back. These messages, you've got them. Oh yes, with his seal on them. Ahmed rubbed his neck. Good grief, the originals, I'd have thought they'd be under lock and key. They were, in the embassy. But in the fire, many hands were needed to carry important documents to safety. It was a very useful fire. A death warrant for his own brother. Well, you can't argue anything. Well, you can't argue against that in court. What court? The king is the law. Ahmed sat down. We are not like you. We are not like you. You kill kings. The word is execute, and we only did it once, and that was a long time ago, said Vimes. Is that why you brought me here? Why all this drama? You could have come to see me in Ankh-Morpork. You are a suspicious man, Commander. Would you have believed me? Besides, I had to get Prince Kufura out of there before he died of his wounds. Where's the prince now? Close and safe. He is safer in the desert than he would ever be in Ankh-Morpork, I can assure you. And well, getting better. He is being looked after by an old lady whom I trust. Your mother? Ye gods, no! My mother is a dreg. She'd be terribly offended if I trusted her. She'd say she hadn't brought me up right. He saw Vimes' expression this time. You think I am an educated barbarian? Let's just say I'd have given Snowy Slopes a running start. Really. Look around you, Sir Samuel. Your beat is a city you can walk across in half an hour. Mine is 2 million square miles of desert and mountain. My companions are a sword and a camel, and frankly, neither are good conversationalists, believe me. Oh, the towns and cities have their guards of a sort. They are uncomplicated thinkers. But it is my job to go into the waste places and chase bandits and murderers 500 miles from anyone who would be on my side. So I must inspire dread and strike the first blow, because I will not have a chance to strike a second one. I am an honest man of a sort, I think. I survive. I survived 7 years in an Ankh-Morpork public school patronized by the sons of gentlemen. Compared to that, life among the dregs holds no terrors, I assure you. And I administer justice swiftly and inexpensively. I heard about how you got your name. Ahmed shrugged. The man had poisoned the water. The only well for 20 miles. That killed 5 men, 7 women, 13 children, and 31 camels. And some of them were very valuable camels, mark you. I had evidence from the man who sold him the poison and a trustworthy witness who had seen him near the well on the fateful night. Once I had testimony from a servant. Why wait even an hour? Sometimes we have trials, said Vimes brightly. Yes, your Lord Veterinary decides. Well, 500 miles from anywhere, the law is me. Ahmed waved a hand. Oh, no doubt the man would suggest there were mitigating circumstances, that he had an unhappy childhood or was driven by compulsive well-poisoning disorder. But I have a compulsion to behead cowardly murderers. Vimes gave up. The man had a point. The man had a whole sword. Different strokes for different folks, he said. I find the one at shoulder height generally suffices, said Ahmed. Don't grimace. It was a joke. I knew the prince was plotting, and I thought, this is not right. Had he killed some Ankh-Morpork lord, that would just be politics. But this, I thought, why do I chase stupid people into the mountains when I am part of a big crime? The prince wants to unite the whole of Klatch. Personally, I like the little tribes and countries, even their little wars. But I don't mind if they fight Ankh-Morpork because they want to, or because of your horrible personal habits, or your unthinking arrogance. There's a lot of reason for fighting Ankh-Morpork. A lie isn't one of them. I know what you mean, said Vimes. But what can I do alone? Arrest my prince? I am his policeman, as you are veterinaries. No, I'm an officer of the law. All I know is there must be a policeman, even for kings. Vimes looked pensively at the moonlit desert. Somewhere out there was the Ankh-Morpork army, what there was of it, and somewhere waiting was the Klatchian army, and thousands of men who might have quite liked one another had they met socially, would thunder towards one another and start killing. And after that first rush, you had all the excuses you needed to do it again and again. He remembered listening, when he was a kid, to old men in his street talking about war. There hadn't been many wars in his time. The city-states of the Stowe Plains mainly tried to bankrupt one another, or the Assassins' Guild sorted everything out on a one-to-one basis. Most of the time people just bickered, and while that was pretty annoying, it was a lot better than having a sword stuck in your liver. What he remembered most, among the descriptions of puddles filled with blood and the flying limbs, was the time one old man said, Anne, if your foot caught in something, it was always best not to look and see what it was, if'n you wanted to hold on to your dinner. He never explained what he meant. The other old men seemed to know. Anyway, nothing could have been worse than the explanations Vimes thought of for himself. And he remembered that the three old men who spent most of their days sitting on a bench in the sun had, between them, 5 arms, 5 eyes, 4.5 legs, and 2 3/4 faces. 17 ears. Crazy Winston could bring out his collection for a good boy who looked suitably frightened. He wants to start a war. Vimes had to open his mouth, because otherwise there was no room to get his head around such a crazy idea. This man, who everyone said was honest, noble, and good, wanted a war. Oh, certainly, said Ahmed. Nothing unites people like a good war. How could you deal with someone who thought like that? Vimes asked himself. A mere murderer. Well, you had a whole range of options. He could deal with a mere murderer. You had criminals, and you had policemen, and there was a sort of seesaw. There which balanced out in some strange way. But if you took a man who'd sit down and decided to start a war, what in the name of 7 hells could you balance him with? You'd need a policeman the size of a country. You couldn't blame the soldiers. They just joined up to be pointed in the right direction. Something clicked against the fallen pillar. Vimes glanced down and pulled the baton out of his pocket. It glinted in the moonlight. What damn good was something like this? All it really meant was that he was allowed to chase the little criminals who did the little crimes. There was nothing he could do about the crimes that were so big you couldn't even see them. You lived in them. So, safer to stick to the little crimes, Sam Vimes.
All right, my sons! Let 'em have it right up the geography!
Figures bounded over the fallen pillars. There was a metallic whir as Ahmed unsheathed his sword. Shing! Vimes saw a halberd coming towards him, an Ankh-Morpork halberd. And street reaction took over. He didn't waste time sneering at someone stupid enough to use a pike on a foot soldier. He dodged the blade, caught the shaft, and pulled it so hard that its owner stumbled right into his up-swinging boot. Then he jerked away, struggling to untangle his sword from the unfamiliar robes. He ducked another shadowy figure's wild slice and managed to make an elbow connect with something painful. As he rose, he looked into the face of a man with an upraised sword. There was a silicon sound, and the man swayed backwards. his head looking surprised as it fell away from the body. Vimes dragged his headdress off. "I'm from Ankh-Morpork, you stupid sods!" A huge figure rose in front of him, a sword in each hand. "I'll cut your tonker off for your greasy..." "Oh, is that you, Sir Samuel?" "Huh? Willykins? Indeed, sir." The butler straightened up. "Willykins? Do excuse me one moment, sir." "Knock it off, you mother-loving sons of bitches!" "I had no apprehension of your presence, sir." "This one's fighting back, Sarge." Ahmed had his back to a pillar. A man already lay at his feet. 3 others were trying to get close enough to the wali, while staying away from the whirling wall he was creating with his sword. "Ahmed, these are on our side," Vimes yelled. "Oh, really? Pardon me." Ahmed lowered his sword and removed the cigarette holder from his mouth. He nodded at one of the soldiers who had been trying to attack him and said, "Good morning to you." Are you one of ours too?" "No, I'm one of..." "He's with me," Vimes snapped. "How come you're here, Willykins?" "Sergeant Willykins, I see." "We were on patrol, sir, and we were attacked by some Klatchian gentlemen. After the ensuing unpleasantness..." "You should have seen him, sir. He bit one bastard's nose right off," a soldier supplied. "It is true that I endeavoured to uphold the good name of Ankh-Morpork, sir. Anyway, after we..." "And one bloke, Sarge, stabbed him right in the..." "Please, Private Burke, I am apprising Sir Samuel of events," said Willykins. "Sarge ought to get a medal, sir." "Those few of us who survived tried to get back, sir, but we had to conceal ourselves from other patrols, and we were just considering lying up until dawn in this edifice when we espied you and this gentleman here." Ahmed was watching him with his mouth open. "How many were in this Klatchian patrol, Sergeant?" he said. 19 men, sir." "That's a very precise count in this light. I was able to enumerate them subsequently, sir." "You mean they were all killed?" "Yes, sir," said Willykins calmly. "However, we ourselves lost 5 men, sir, not including Privates Hobley and Webb, sir, who regrettably seem to have passed away as a result of this unfortunate misunderstanding. With your permission, sir, I will remove them." "Poor devils," said Vimes, aware that it was not enough, but that nothing else would be either. "The fortunes of war, sir. Private Hobley, Ginger to his friends, was 19 and lived in Ettercap Street, where until recently he made bootlaces." Willykins took the dead man's arms and pulled. "He was courting a young lady called Grace, a picture of whom he was kind enough to show me last night. A maid at Lady Venturi's. I was given to understand. If you would be good enough to pass me his head, sir, I will get on with things." "Smudger, who told you to sit down? Get on your feet right now! Get out your shovel! Take off your helmet! Show some respect! Get digging! Ah!" A cloud of smoke rolled past Vimes's ear. "I know what you are thinking," said Ahmed. "But this is war, Sir Samuel. Wake up and smell the blood." "But 1 minute they're alive. Your friend here knows how it works. You don't. He's a butler. So, it's kill or be killed even for butlers. You're not a natural warrior, Sir Samuel." Vimes thrust the baton in his face. I'm not a natural killer. See this? See what it says? I'm supposed to keep the peace, I am. If I kill people to do it, I'm reading the wrong manual. Willikins appeared silently, hefting the other corpse. I was not privileged to know much about this young man, he said as he carried him behind a rock. We called him Spider, sir, he went on, straightening up. He played the harmonica rather badly and spoke longingly of home. Will you be taking tea, sir? Private Smith is having a brew-up. The butler coughed politely. Yes, Willikins. I hardly like to broach the subject, sir. Broach it, man! Do you have such a thing as a biscuit about you, sir? I hesitate to provide tea without biscuits, but we have not eaten for 2 days. But you were on patrol. Forage party, sir. Willikins looked embarrassed. Vimes was bewildered. You mean Russ didn't even wait to take on food? Oh, yes, sir, but as it transpired. We knew there was something wrong when the mutton barrel started to explode, muttered Private Burke. The biscuits was pretty lively too. Turned out bloody Rusted bought a lot of stuff even a raghead wouldn't eat. And we eat anything, said 71-hour Ahmed solemnly. Private Burke, you horrible man! Speaking of your commanding officer like that, you will be on a charge! I apologize, sir, but we are feeling a little faint. Long time between noses, eh? Said 71-hour Ahmed. Sir, said Willikins. Vimes sighed. Willikins, when you've finished, I want you and your men to come with me. Very good, sir. Vimes nodded at Ahmed. And you too, he said. Push has come to shove. The hot wind flapped the banners. The sunlight sparkled off the spears. Lord Rust surveyed his army and found that it was good, but small. He leaned towards his adjutant. He leaned towards his adjutant. Let us not forget, though, that even General Tacticus was outnumbered 10-1 when he took the pass of Al-Ibi, he said. Yes, sir, although I believe his men were all mounted on elephants, sir, said Lieutenant Hornet. And had been well provisioned, he added meaningfully. Possibly. But then Lord Pinwo's cavalry once charged the full might of the Pseudopolitan army and are renowned in song and story. But they were all killed, sir. Yes, but it was a famous charge, nevertheless. And every child knows, do they not, the story of the mere 100 Ephebians who defeated the entire Sortian army? A total victory, hey? Hey? Yes, sir, said the adjutant gloomily. Oh, you admit it? Yes, sir. Of course, some commentators believe the earthquake helped. At least you will admit that the 7 heroes of Hergen beat the big-footed people, although outnumbered by 100-1. Yes, sir, that was a nursery story, sir. It never really happened. Are you calling my nurse a liar, boy? No, sir, said Lieutenant Hornet hurriedly. Then you'll concede that Baron Mimbledrone single-handedly beat the armies of the plum-pudding country and ate their sultana? I envy him, sir. The lieutenant looked at the lines again. The men were very hungry, although Rust would probably have called them sleek. Things would have been even worse if it hadn't been for the fortuitous shower of boiled lobsters on the way over. You don't think, sir, since we have a little time in hand, we should look to the disposition of the men, sir? They look well disposed to me. Plucky men, eager to be at the fray. Yes, sir, I meant more, well, position, sir. Nothing wrong with them, man. Beautifully lined up. Hey, a wall of steel poised to thrust at the black heart of the Klatchian aggressor? Yes, sir, but, and I realize this is a remote chance, sir, it might be that while we're thrusting at the heart of the Klatchian aggressor, black heart, Rust corrected him. Black heart of the Klatchian aggressor, sir. The arms of the Klatchian aggressor. Those companies there and there, sir, will sweep around in the classic pincer movement. A thrusting wall of steel served us magnificently in the Second War with Quirm. We lost that one, sir, but it was a damn close run thing. We still lost, sir. What did you do as a civilian, Lieutenant? I was a surveyor, sir, and I can read Klatchian. That's why you made me an officer. So, you don't know how to fight? Only how to count, sir. Faugh! Pah! Show a little courage, man. Although I'll wager you won't need to. No stomach for a battle, Johnny Klatchian. Once he tastes our steel, he'll be off. I certainly hear what you say, sir, said the adjutant, who had been surveying the Klatchian lines and had formed his own opinion about the matter. His opinion was this. The main force of the Klatchian army had, in recent years, been fighting everyone. That suggested to his uncomplicated mind that by now the surviving soldiers were the ones who were in the habit of being alive at the end of battles, and were also very experienced at facing all kinds of enemies. The stupid ones were dead. The current Ankh-Morpork army, on the other hand, had never faced an enemy at all, although day-to-day experience of living in the city might count for something there, at least in the rougher areas. He believed, along with General Tacticus, that courage, bravery, and the indomitable human spirit were fine things which nevertheless tended to take second place to the combination of courage, bravery, the indomitable human spirit, and a six-tune superiority of numbers. It had all sounded straightforward in Ankh-Morpork, he thought. We were going to sail into Klatch and be in Al-Khali by tea time, drinking sherbet with plain young women in the Roxy. The Klatchians would take one look at our weapons and run away. Well, the Klatchians had taken a good look this morning. So far they hadn't run. They appeared to be sniggering a lot. Vimes rolled his eyes. It worked. But how did it work? He'd heard plenty of good speakers, and Captain Carrot was not among them. He hesitated, lost the thread, repeated himself, and in general made a mess of the whole thing. And yet, he watched the faces that were watching Carrot. They were the dregs, and some of the Klatchians who had stayed behind, and Willikins and his reduced company. They were listening. It was a kind of magic. He told people they were good chaps, and they knew they weren't good chaps, but the way he told it made them believe it for a while. Here was someone who thought you were a noble and worthy person, and somehow it would be unthinkable to disappoint them. It was a mirror of a speech, reflecting back to you what you wanted to hear. And he meant it all. Even so, men occasionally glanced up at Vimes and Ahmed, and he could see them thinking in their separate ways.
It must be all right if they're in on it.
That, he was ashamed to realize, was one of the advantages of armies. People looked to other people for orders.
This is a trick,
said Ahmed. No, he doesn't know any tricks like that, said Angua. He really doesn't. Uh-oh. There was a scuffle in the ranks. Carrot strode forward and reached down, bringing up Private Burke and a dreg, each man held by the collar in one big fist.
What's going on, you two? He called me the brother of a pig, sir. Liar! You called me a greasy dishcloth head.
Carrot shook his head.
And you were both doing so well too,
he said sadly. There really is no call for this. Now, I want you, Haschel, and you, Vincent, to shake hands, right? And apologize, yes? We've all had a rather trying time, but I know you're both fine fellows underneath it all. Vimes heard Ahmed murmur, Oh, well, now it's all over. So, if you'll just shake hands, we'll say no more about it. Vimes glanced at 71-hour Ahmed. The man was wearing a sort of waxen grin. The two scufflers very gingerly touched hands, as if they were expecting a spark to leap the gap. And now you, Vincent, apologize to Mr. Haschel. There was a reluctant, "Hey." And we're sorry for what? Carrot prompted.
Sorry for calling him a greasy dishcloth head.
Well said. And you, Haschel, apologize to Private Burke. The dregs' eyes scurried around their sockets, looking to find a way out that would allow their body to come to. Then he gave up.
Sorry.
For?
Sorry for calling him a brother of a pig.
Carrot lowered both men.
Good! I'm sure you'll get along splendidly once you get to know each other.
I didn't just see that, did I? Said Ahmed. I didn't just see him talk like a little school teacher to Haschel, who, I happen to know, once hit a man so hard his nose ended up in one of his ears. Yes, you did, said Angua. And now watch them. When the rest of the men turned their attention back to Carrot, the scufflers looked at one another as unfortunates who had both been through the same baptism of fiery embarrassment. Private Burke gingerly offered Haschel a cigarette. It only works around him, said Angua. But it does work. Let it go on working, Vimes prayed. Carrot walked over to a kneeling camel and climbed into the saddle.
That's evil brother-in-law of a jackal, said Ahmed. Jabbar's camel. It bites everyone who tries to ride it.
Yes, but this is Carrot.
It even bites Jabbar.
And you notice how he knew how to get on a camel, said Vimes. How he wears the robes. He's fitting in. The boy was raised in a dwarf mine. It took him about a month to know my own damn city better than I do. The camel rose. Now the flag. Vimes thought, give him the flag. When you go to war, there's got to be a flag. On cue, Constable Shoe passed up the spear with a tightly rolled cloth around it. The constable looked proud. He'd stitched the thing in conditions of great secrecy half an hour before. One thing about a zombie, you always knew someone who had a needle and thread. But don't unfurl it, Vimes thought. Don't let them see it. It's enough for them to know they're marching under a flag. Carrot brandished the spear. "And I promise you this," he shouted. "If we succeed, no one will remember. And if we fail, no one will forget." Probably one of the worst rallying cries, Vimes thought, since General Pidley's famous "Let's all get our throats cut, boys!" But it got a huge cheer. And once again he speculated that there was magic going on at some bone-deep level. People followed Carrot out of curiosity. "All right, you've got an army, I suppose," said Ahmed. "And now? I'm a policeman. So are you. There's going to be a crime. Saddle up, Ahmed." Ahmed salaamed. "I am happy to be led by a white officer, Effendi." "I didn't mean..." "Have you ever ridden a camel before, Sir Samuel?" "No." "Ah," Ahmed smiled faintly. "Then just give it a prod to get started. And when you want to stop, hit it very hard with the stick and shout, 'Hut, hut, 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 hut.' You hit it with a stick to make it stop." "Is there any other way?" said 71-hour Ahmed. His camel looked at Vimes and then spat in his eye.